Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey everybody, today we have another special guest, and I do mean special with this guest. We've been friends for freaking long damn time, and I'm not even quite sure how we became friends. Today we have Amy Wattles, who was high-level strongman or woman. I don't even know what to say with that one. And then she does this grip stuff, and I know she just broke a crab claw lift thing competition, and it's some arm challenge thing or something like that. So let's go from the beginning. Like when were you competing in strong woman at the high? And is it strong woman or strong man? Do you guys even care?
Strong man. It's
kind of like it's the sport is strong man, but women compete in it.
Correct.
Kind of thing.
That's the way I feel, but we're old now, so maybe it's changed.
We are old. I agree.
Yeah, right.
So when did you start doing, actually, let's just start at the beginning. What events were you doing, sports and stuff, like in high school when you were a kid and stuff? And
So as a kid and through high school, it was always softball and volleyball. And then I graduated, and I was dating Matt at the time, who was big into powerlifting. I meant to ask him, who's the guy? He used to own a gym in Calumet City, Illinois, Quads Gym. Who is that?
Damn it, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't either.
But so Quads Gym's famous, yeah.
Right? So that was he loved all of that, and we were dating and started college, and we took a weightlifting class together or something, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, and just figured out I had natural strength. And then we went to North Dakota State, and I took a weightlifting class there, and I think on the first day I squatted 325, 350, something like that. And he's like, I think you're pretty good. I'm like, all right, that sounds cool.
It's probably more than your professor, I bet. Yeah.
Probably. So, and then that started. So then it was kind of would lift when I could because we were in college. And then, fast forward 2003, I was pregnant with Mojo. And my principal at the time was doing strongman. And so she's like, have this baby and start training with me. So probably 7 months after Mojo was born was my
so
first
how old were you?
31 at that point.
So that was actually, you're kind of like me. You got started a little later and with the competing in it.
30 maybe. Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it was always my time to get away. You know what I mean? Strongman Saturday was my time. That was great, taking the kids. And so I could focus on that. And then it just really kind of took over the whole family dynamic. Matt was still doing his thing. And, we have built a home gym, and every Saturday is what we did after school. We were out lifting. And so that set the tone. And then strongman, I think I went to World Strong Woman Championships in 2006. And right before my first competition in 2004, they had a women's pro class, and they did away with it. So my whole goal in strongman was just to get my pro card. And so finally, I wrote it down because I'm bad at years. 2017, I finally got my pro card. I think they reintroduced the women's pro card in about 2016. And I'm like, that's my goal. I need to go for it. I think I was 44 at that point, wearing Magnus's shoes. He was a junior in high school. So that was cool. That's the strongman end of it. And then I won America's Strongest Masters. I was always embarrassed to compete in the Masters, though. I we're kind of old school. Like strong is strong and raw was everything as far as strongman. You didn't wear gear. And I just always felt like if I'm competing in the masters, I'm not the strongest. I'm the strongest master. So just a mindset I always struggled with. But I did finally compete at that, and I won that. And then grip. So we did some Highland games along the way. We kind of talked about that already. Definitely a different pace than strongman. And then I did grip.
So
I
you're saying in strongman competitions they don't take a lunch break?
We don't take lunch breaks. We don't even, if you got to go to the bathroom and it's your turn, you're taking a risk that you're going on the mat. Like be on top of it. Let's go. So
We were
yeah,
we were laughing about this for the people listening. We were laughing about this beforehand because we both did Highland games, and each of us was like, "Dude, lunch? What do you mean lunch? Like I'm eating while I'm throwing. Like let's go, let's do this thing."
exactly. And then you get cold and sore and all the pain
Yeah,
starts setting in and yeah, not my thing. So and then what I got became part of Team Elite FTS in 2010, I think. So that's when you and I finally connected. And then 2011 Strongman Nationals. I went back and researched this. 2011, and I sent you some pictures. 2011 is when Nationals was in Reno, and that's the year Melissa Garrett won. And somehow we connected and went out and hung out in the bar forever, listening to Chad talk.
I remember. Like it seems like we talked. It seems like at some point we had talked through Elite, and then it was like they had the one here. The Wessels had the like nationals or something here in Reno.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Exactly.
I thought that's where the first time we met in person because I remember going, well, cool, I can go get pictures for Amy and do a write up for Elite for that one.
Mm-hmm. Didn't I just say that? I think I
Did
was
you? I
just.
don't know. I have ADD. I
Were
space
you
out
listening?
sometimes.
Yes, that
And
was the
I
first time
remember
we
that
met.
like we just got along because you're kind of sarcastic, so and I kind of like that. So
Right. It's entertaining. Yep, for sure. And then the next year you came out for a seminar. We opened the gym and you came out for a seminar and you were the Wattles cheering section in Mojo's football games.
it's so funny because out of that whole trip, I
Yeah.
almost forgot I did a seminar there.
All right.
Like my whole memories are going shooting with Maximus and going to watch Mojo and like that's like what I remember from that whole trip.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I had to go. Thank goodness Facebook's still around because that's where all those memories are way back. That
But
was a
I
good
did
trip.
meet like at that seminar I met a couple guys that I still talk to that ended up coming down here and trained down here for a little bit and then a couple of them moved across the United States and stuff and I
Oh,
still talk to them every now and then.
that's neat. Chad has a friend everywhere he goes.
I don't know why, but I seem to.
Yeah, people love you, Chad. You're a talk.
So you never did you ever actually do a powerlifting competition?
No, no, and this is funny. Like during my training and stuff, Regina, I can't remember her last name. I always eyeballed her deadlift. It was like 415, 420. I'm like, oh, I want to get that one day. And I just moved on and did my own things. So, like in hindsight, I'm like, really? Was that
And
that
now, but I mean, you
mistake?
just literally just because we went out when you were down in Vegas for the Olympia, and you just broke the crab claw. I don't know what the hell the record is. Dude, it's a crab claw. You grab that square bar like with a crab claw and then lift it up. But like you broke a record, actually.
Uh-huh. And that was the 2x5 Saxon, yeah. And that one was cool because I hadn't even touched a 2x5, so I had no idea what I was capable of and where I'd end up on it. So I had an idea where I was obviously on the 3x5 because that's a little fatter. So I thought in my mind I was like, well, ideally I can go higher than that. We'll see. And yeah, I just kept going. So that proved to be an oddity that I was able to do that. Just
So of the things you've done, so Strong Highland Games, and was that a grip competition or now there's arm lifting?
That was an arm lifting competition.
Okay. And because I had Leroy Walker on the last episode, and he's doing like, he was bench presser, but he does a lot of arm wrestling and curling now. And he kind of brought up like the arm lifting. And I'm like, this stuff's confusing me. We're getting too many different sports here. I can't keep up.
Right? Even just like when arm lifting came around, I'm like, that is the weirdest name, but okay.
Because it's still, I mean, it's still a lot of grip stuff though, isn't it? The arm
It
lifting.
is. It's all grip. So you have in the US, essentially, you have grip sport, which tends to be the purest, really multi-dimension events with grip. And then you have arm lifting. I was just looking it up, and I think it's a competition will have a round event, a square event, and I forgot what number 3 was. So a round event would be like an axle or, the Rogue grandfather clock, like the vertical.
And that's in arm lifting, or that's in grip?
In arm
That's
lifting.
arm lifting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so an arm lifting competition, you can really have any event you want, like on a local level, and integrate all those grip sport events. But the big show, the thing I think that has separated them a little bit is arm lifting has really gotten to the big stage and the masses more. Like we were on the main stage at the Arnold's this year. That one was always on my bucket list. Remember the Mighty Mids back in the day when the guys were doing grip? And that was always something like, when are the women going to get to do this? So when that popped up, I'm like, count me in. And that was only 3 events. So it was Saxon, 3x5 Saxon bar, double overhand axle, and then the Rogue grandfather clock, which is basically a V-bar, fat pipe. For reps, it's a medley for reps in a minute. And then we were at the Olympia too. God, I don't even remember the events. The 2x5 Saxon, because I got that one. We had a medley of some sort. Can't remember the third one. Sorry.
So is it kind of like strongman where you know the events before you go do the competition?
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of, and like this year for the Arnold, this coming up year, it's the same events as last year, and it's like, I don't know. I would like some variation personally. I'm probably not going to go the Arnold next year.
I would like to see him go back to like the older days where it was like, okay, I'm going to go compete in strongman. I'll see what the events are when I get there.
That would be cool.
Because then it's like you just got to train to be strong, and hopefully you know how to lift and carry shit.
It pretty much, right? And that's the thing. Like in grip, like my time, I always said, I'm like, I'm not smart enough for this sport. Like there's all these events, and there's really not. It was just I think I had strongman on the brain and all the variations of strongman, and trying to keep up with that, and then grip. Like I don't even understand what y'all are talking about. And so I would say like 5 to 8 events maybe I did at most. So now coming back into grip, it's like I've never even touched these things. Like this is crazy.
So do you which sport did you have the most fun with?
Truthfully, grip.
Really?
I got my grip girls. It's not strongman, and maybe it was just the time I was in between the politics. It was very limited opportunities for the women, and so it was very well. Of course, it's competitive, but I didn't feel the close knit relationships like in grip, probably.
Interesting. I wonder if that's a sport or, like you said, the time.
I
Because
don't
like
know.
when you were coming up, I mean, it was kind of like female powerlifting was actually starting to grow, but it wasn't really big either. And then like, I mean, if some of the girls I talk to in powerlifting are like, yeah, it's cool, but like we go to these big events and there's like hardly anybody to compete against. And I know when you were first doing strongman, there wasn't a lot of women doing that either.
No, and I even talked about this with grip. That was at the time where it was like maybe a women's division, and if there wasn't, the promoter would be like, well, you're going to need 3 competitors. And so you'd have to get with the ladies like, hey, can you do this competition so we can have a women's division?
So they like throw it in your, like, we'll do it, but you need to go get some more competitors for me. Nice.
Exactly. And and now you look at entries and they've got everything like lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, over 50, like over 50 heavyweights. It's just
Yeah.
crazy to me. It's so nice to see. And like even at the Arnold in arm lifting, I think there were 27 women competing.
Wow. That's actually really good.
Yeah. Like my first grip nationals, I wrote this down so I'd remember. I don't know, 2012. I think I was the only woman there. And I'm part of me feels like I was the first women's group champ, but part of me feels like there might have been somebody before me. But
So did you go to that meet and go, I won? I haven't even done anything yet.
I piggybacked that on a visit to see Elite FTS.
Dude, but when I filled out my application, I squeezed the shit out of that pen. So
I went to Elite FTS and Dave was like, "You're doing what? Like for real?" And I think he had some names for me. Called me a Trekkie and okay.
that was probably me.
So I kind of laid on the
I
down
remember
low
talking to you about the group competitions, and I'm like, what? So it's like, what? And you're like, yeah, there's all these people at this. And I go, so like a Star Trek conference or something? Like,
But it's awesome. It really is awesome. The people are fantastic. It has just grown like crazy. It's nuts for sure. So
it's weird though, because it still seems, so I'm kind of on the outside of the grip stuff. You're on the inside. It seems to me like it's still a little bit of an underground kind of deal. Like not everybody knows about it, but the people that are in it are really pumped about it.
yes. And it's crazy competitive.
And
Like
that's kind of how powerlifting, when I first got into powerlifting, that's how it was. Like if you told people you were a powerlifter, like, oh, you're in the Olympics. And it's like, no, I'm not in the Olympics, man. It's not in the Olympics. And so you had really good competitions and really good people, and you had like these great bonds and stuff with people. And then it seems like as it got really popular, that kind of changed a little bit.
interesting. Like there was a worldwide grip competition last month. So, like you set the standards, you set the date, the rules, whatever, and you go, I believe worldwide there were over 300 competitors. Like that's huge
Wow.
just for that one competition. Yeah. So it's growing. It's crazy. Arm lifting is crazy, like how much it's growing. And I think that, like I joke or always said, like I'm not smart enough for grip sport. I always felt like arm lifting kind of took the brain work out of it, Not that I don't even know what it is. It's just there's so many different things, and um, I don't know. I guess I just never paid enough attention or spent the time to focus. I actually just bought my first grip book like 2 weeks ago. I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn something now.
It's interesting to me because like for me, I don't know, you're not lifting like these massive poundages. So it was never anything that I was really worried about. It was like, dude, can I hold on to as much as I can deadlift?
Mhm.
And if I can, cool. If not, okay, then I need to be able to get my static strength up.
Mhm.
So it was
Mhm.
never anything that I even thought about as you would compete at or anything like that. And I never gave much thought to training it other than like for the deadlift.
Yeah, and see, so the opposite for me in strongman coming from that period of you're not using straps, like that is so stupid. Train your grip.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was we never ended a training session without training grip, whatever it was. So that was always
See,
just
for
drilled
me, it
into
was
my
like, don't
head.
use straps, hold on to everything, and hold your deadlifts at the top. You'll be fine.
See,
That was my
totally
extent of
different.
grip training.
Well, you're kind of there. Do you like double overhand on the barbell to a certain
For
degree?
rows and stuff like that, I do.
Oh, so
But I
my
mean, it's interesting though, because if you do stop and think about it and you think about the anatomy, first of all, there's a whole shit ton of little muscles involved in grip.
mhm,
And then you have static strength. How much can you just hold on to? And then with like some of the events I've seen, like how much can you pinch? How much can you pinch at this? How much can you pinch at this?
right.
Like, see little lobster hands. Like, so I mean, there's actually something to it.
There is.
And then with the arm lifting, I wonder, I haven't looked into it enough yet, but like kind of your whole forearm strength, it seems like is going to matter at some point. I mean, do they ever do anything where you have to hold it here and then come out here? Or like, I mean,
No, not that I stands out to me.
and I still
No.
want to change the name though.
The name of what?
The arm lifting.
Right? I
Like
think
every
it's
time I
kind
hear
of in
arm lifting, the
Russia.
first thing I think about is a curl or like a straight arm. Like, dude, these guys are like, must be like straight arm, big delt raising like 400 pounds or something. What does arm lifting mean?
I think it started in Russia, if I remember correctly, is kind of because remember Ode used to do LA Fit Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the Pacific Northwest, we have a long history of grip up here. So that was the other part. Like in strongman, I always knew about these things going on, and then Ode was always into it and whatever. So he was apparently the first official arm lifting competition. He had started it, but I do believe the name came from Russia. Like they started that federation and we
I mean, I
joined
have
it.
problems with the names anyway, because I've always thought weightlifting should be named powerlifting and powerlifting should actually be named weightlifting.
You think? No.
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah,
weightlifting is
because the
more about
power.
power and force.
Right, right.
Powerlifting is more just about lifting the weight.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
Kind of
kind
like
of like
football.
I drive on a freeway and I park on a, or I drive on a parkway and I park on a, what is it?
I don't
Your driveway, you don't actually drive on, you park on it. And a
know.
parkway, you don't actually park on, but you drive on it. So why isn't my driveway called a parkway?
I don't know.
It's ADD.
These are
This
the
is shit
things
I
that
think
occupy
about.
your mind. You have way too much time on your hands.
No, I just have give my mind like 2 seconds and who knows where the hell it's going to go.
That's awesome.
Oh, so funny. So what? So like, I mean, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is because where you started in strongman, and even in powerlifting, like it's changed so much.
Mhm.
I went to the like women's pro-am a couple years back, and I was incredible. I was impressed as hell. Like, first of all, there's so many women that like I think Laura has to like shut it down because she gets so many entries,
Wow. Good for her.
and the women, I they seem less bitchy than men, to be honest with you. Like at the competitions, like they seem to get along better and work together better. And like there's women now doing some just, if somebody asked me who's improving greater, men or women, I'm going to lean towards women. I think women are putting up numbers that are like just insane right now.
I for sure agree with that. I think part of that is breaking free of that kind of expectation, like
Mm-hmm.
I think about like my early days, what was considered heavy. And like I remember it took me forever to be able to bench 135 because those were the big plates.
Yeah.
And well, that took some work. And then transitioning to overheading the big plates, that was the thing. And now the numbers are just whew, that I think that mental cap is gone for women. So we're really just kind of let's see what we can do. I remember my first farmers when I was training, they had the heavy farmers were 110 pounds each. And like, okay. And there weren't the DIY options, or it was all DIY. You didn't really have, you had to make your own equipment.
Yeah.
So to push things was a lot more difficult too, I think.
Yeah, I think that helped strongman, male and female, grow a whole lot more. The
Mhm.
fact that people started making equipment. Like, so
You're
now
right.
there's gyms everywhere that have all the equipment. Like you can go play with it and train with it, and that's got to get more people into the sport.
Yep.
That's an
I remember.
interesting point, though. 'Cause I've always said that about world records too. I've always found it interesting that because the time that I was lifting, there was just crazy amount of records just getting broken. And it was like you could have this record that would last forever. But once it got broke, within 6 months, like 7 people beat it.
Interesting.
And
Yep.
it's like just that little, It's that first person that breaks through, and then the other guy's like, oh, yeah, I could. Okay, yeah, we can do that. And you even kind of see it in the shot put where Ryan Krauser broke that 30-year-old shot put record. And then you're like, holy shit, like 3 guys threw past that, I think, that year. And you're like, how the hell does it go 30 years and all of a sudden you get one, bam, 2, 3? And like you've had more 75-foot shot puts in the last year than the last 30. Like it's crazy. But it makes sense. And like what you said, when there's only a few women in there and the standards set really low, as people start breaking it, and then the next people are like, oh, well, okay, so if I want to do that and be good, I got to need to lift this. Oh, okay.
The one thing, and I know this is going to be a shocker for you, like the press went crazy with the women. Their deadlifts now, they're wearing suits and straps and, deadlifting in the 6s. That's crazy. I think my best axle was like 485. And where was I going with this? But the one that hasn't changed is farmers. Like in proportion, I would think that the women should be carrying about 325 pounds in my mind. They're still running around with 220, 230, 240. Like that hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
That's disappointing to me, strictly from a grip perspective.
Well, yeah, you'd think if they're starting to pull heavier, you'd think their farmers would go up too.
You'd think so.
Interesting. But what's funny about that is it's funny to go back and watch like some 80s strongman, and you're like, wait a minute, this is what they lifted? Like that's not that much. But you're like, yeah, but at that time, those guys didn't train with stones. They went to the event and went, oh shit, we got to lift these round rocks.
Yep. How do you do it?
And they didn't know. I mean, I look back and go, well, I remember when the log record was like 3 something. And now it's like 5.
Yep.
But nobody had logs to train with.
True. I remember making my first Atlas stone out of a ball in the yard, like where the molds were available. And I think I ended up with like half a ball, and I was like, well, good enough to at least.
It's not really round, but it'll work.
That was cool. That was
round-ish. Atlas-ish.
Exactly. People making yokes out of pipes and dangling chains and stuff. Yeah. Those were the fun times though too, like looking back, I always enjoyed, the parking lot competitions and just hanging out, having a good time. Where now it just, they're at the big events, which everybody wants the big event, but it's, a lot of people. I don't know. It's very efficient. It's very.
I think there's definitely some give and take where I talk about, like, I was talking about powerlifting when it was underground. Like it was a whole different atmosphere. It was different people. But at the same time, we all kind of wish that you could make a little bit of money at it or it had a little more popularity. Well, now it has the popularity. And people are making a little bit of money at it. I mean, it's not a professional sport yet in my mind, but and then so then you lose some of that underground stuff.
Well, and did you pay attention to the Rogue Invitational with the woman who won? How much she won? 121 grand. Right?
So what did the men win? Did they have a men's one?
I don't pay attention.
Okay, so that's pretty much. I mean, you got to win it every year, but you're a pro you made enough to pay for yourself to train full time the next year.
Exactly. Like that's unheard of, right? So that's cool.
I didn't know that. That's actually that's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, I read that, so I'm hoping whatever I read was accurate. I'm reading people's comments.
Yeah, I mean it is. So it is growing and it is getting better, but it definitely changes things, and it's like I kind of laugh because I train people in my garage, so my garage is pretty nice, but I don't have everything. And even my one client does figure competitions, and she just did really awesome up in Washington. And everybody's like, you train in a garage. Like, how do you look like that? And it's like, you kind of get that. Like back then it was like, people are like, oh, we don't have Atlas stones. All right, well, what can we do? Like, how can we train this? Let's make a sleeve, or let's cut the end of a bar off, put a bunch of plates on it, and try to lift that up. or like you said with the yoke, guys are like trying to make shit. And like, I think there was something cool about that where it wasn't like, oh, well, we don't have that, we can't do it. It was like, no, let's figure it out. And I think a little bit of that's gone. Like, well, we don't have that machine. Who gives a shit? There's lots of ways to do stuff.
Lots of ways. Yep. Yep. Well, and the thing those people don't know is training in a garage is the best.
Yeah.
I have in my adult life, I have never had a gym membership. Not gonna happen. I'll do it on my
it's this I like this. I don't know. It's just different. I like it. I like the fact that I don't have everything and I got to be creative and come up with stuff. And like most of my clients are like, you crack me up, dude. You just like make shit out of wood and like you come up with this idea and just the next week there's something made there. You do what you got to do.
That's awesome. That's the fun of it for sure. I don't know.
And I think we kind of miss it. I think we get spoiled. Well, I don't have that machine. That's why I go to the gym. Like, who cares?
Have like multiple memberships because each gym offers them something different.
Yes, I do know people that do that. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that?
How can you not compensate over here somehow and make it work?
I mean, I do admit when I do go to a gym, I was down at Flex Lewis's gym, the Dragon's Lair in Vegas. And I like just went, all right, my training session today is using every piece of equipment in this row because I don't get to use it. And I'm just like loading each one up and just doing shit.
And you feel super powerful because you get all the way up. Yeah. Like, look how strong I am. And you see your audience and it's like.
And if I didn't train in a garage gym, I couldn't have that fun experience. That would be normal for me.
When I was in high school, I did have a gym membership at Women's Workout World, and the rope. And all I wanted to do was all the leg machines and stack the weight as heavy as I could.
It just sounds hardcore.
Oh man, me and my friend would be in the back of the aerobics class, like, this is bogus. Where's the weights at?
That starts tapping into my ADD right there. Aerobics class. The fact that you even put the word class in it, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Oh my God, those are the days. That's awesome.
It's funny to look back and think like just where everything's went over like our lifespan. Because I always look at, when I worked in physical therapy, I worked with a lot of older clients. And I always thought, dude, these people are like 80 years old. Like, what have they seen in their lifetime? And so I always felt like they got to have some sort of knowledge. Like, I should be listening to these people. Like, they've been through way more than I've been through. And now that I'm getting old, I can stop and go, dude, Chad, do you remember when you first started lifting? Like, gyms had everything was chrome, and there was gyms that literally had benches, dumbbells, and barbells. That's it. That's all they had.
Oh my gosh.
And then when Nautilus came in, there was a whole gym that was just Nautilus. like the fitness industry is really, you stop and think about it, you're like, holy crap, it's changed a ton.
It really has changed a lot. And the cool part is just embracing the free weight aspect of it, I think is cool.
Yeah, I still I'm still way more into free weights than anything else.
Yeah.
I think my older clients would even say this because some of them have told me they actually like the fact that I'm like, machines, squat, get under that bar. And they kind of tease me about it, but I think deep down they're like, yeah, man. Like I was telling about one of my clients the other day. I go, he bitches all the time. I go, but he's one of my hardest workers. And I go, he'll be wearing a Courage Barbell shirt on, and I think he loves when people say something. Because he's like, yeah, I trained. My coach was the strongest man. And like, I trained in his garage. And they're like, what? Really? And he's like, yeah, that son of a bitch makes me go out in the middle of the day in the summer and makes me drag sleds up and down the street. And I go, he's like bitching and bragging all at the same time.
It's a badge of honor. Hard stuff. And you're not an easy. I know you push people, so nobody's going to chump out with Chad around if you like raise that standard. for
Yeah, I
sure.
try to. I try
Okay.
to.
You do.
It's great though. Like I had my one, she's in her 70s, and she's like the other day she comes in. This is a while back. She comes in and she's like, "Yeah, I had that big old pot because I got to cook all this stuff and it's in the bottom of the cabinet." She goes, "I thought about you and I rooted my feet and I squatted down and I grabbed that pot." And she goes, "That pot never felt so light." I'm like, right on.
That's so cute. Oh, that's what, as silly as it is, like I try to get on the ground as much as I can because I'm like, I can still get up because one day
Uh-huh.
I'm screwed.
I do that with all. I got one of my clients right now who he actually fell and hit his head and was in the
Oh,
hospital for a little bit. And I'm like, dude, we're getting close. Like it's almost time to get your ass back on the ground. Like you're not training with me if you can't get your ass back off the ground. That's like one of our main things.
right? Yep, I hear you. It's really funny though, like even in grip, like you see the difference. Like from 46, I'll be 52 in February. Like there's a significant difference. And granted, when I stopped training, I won my pro card and I was like, done. And then my kids, that's as they were coming into their own with their things. And then we reached a point where the kids were like, "Weren't you strong? And like, didn't you do stuff?" And they like kind of forgot about it. I was like, "Oh my God." And I forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah. So then through COVID, like I was just a mess coming out of it, had a back injury. Then these grip girls, I started talking to them and I wouldn't even do the grip competition because my back was so messed up. I keep losing where I'm going with this. Oh, so now I'm like still like it's been a year. This is the most consistent I've ever been with grip, and I'm still trying to figure out like one day I am like strong and I can nail it, and then it's gone. Like, and there's no predictor of it. So comments have been it's my conditioning, and then I talk to the older people and they're like, no, you get so many lifts in you and you're done. Like you strategize better. And that's my struggle right now about
Well, you know that, have you seen the studies where they say grip strength has a serious correlation to diseases as you get older?
like an inverse
No,
relationship.
like the better your grip is, the better you're going to age and the healthier you
Oh,
actually are.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And then also
That's
grip was one of the grip has been one of the ways to kind of auto regulate yourself.
what do you
Like
mean?
if your CNS is shot and you're overtrained, your grip is going to be one of the first things that
Mhm.
goes.
Mhm. I
So
really feel that with grippers for sure.
yeah, and I wonder if training that grip, like I mean, it makes sense that like if it's too much, then your grip is good. It's really going to show when that is your training. Like your training is your grip.
Hmm, interesting.
But then that correlates to, again, this is a rabbit hole. That again correlates to how in shape are you, what's your
Hmm.
age, what's your recovery rate, how do you sleep, what are you eating,
Hmm.
and all that other stuff. But I mean, it makes sense that one of the things you would need to watch when training grip is like, okay, if it's off, then there's really not much reason to be pushing through it. Like you need to go, okay, I'm just, today's not the day. So
Yeah. Like this silly challenge we're doing right now. 145. I did it yesterday and I just struggled to make 118. It was painful. It's like,
yeah,
what the
which
hell?
is, if you from 145 to 118, that seems like a huge difference.
Huge. Yep. So anyway, yeah, that's why. Okay. And then like the Arnold, I was, and the other part, like in strongman, even if you couldn't, I rarely trained competition weights. Just the program would get you there and then you would peak at competition and
Right.
exceed anything you did in training. Um, and arm lifting, that doesn't seem to be the case for me. Like,
Hmm.
um, um, you know, and then so on the third event at Arnold, it was the medley. I was killing it. Like my strength was there. I was doing like tons of reps. I think at 11 reps, it was just gone. And it's like, it's done. Like, I don't know. That's frustrating. And I don't think we're having these discussions yet. I'd like to have more, or maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places, but I definitely like to hear more older people talking about it because like in arm lifting, like there's a lot of over 50 people there. There's people in their 60s now coming around and training and competing and stuff. And that's the cool thing, like joke about like grip or arm lifting or whatever. For those people who are still super competitive, it's a safe way to channel that with the back injury or all the other things that came along with competing in strongman. Like your risk of injury is pretty small. Granted, my fingertips fall asleep quite frequently, but that's more.
That's actually really an interesting point, though, that I didn't even think of at all. So correlate like the grip strength and aging better.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a bunch of older people, and people have all kinds of like people with bad shoulders or bad backs or whatever. They can actually still go train the grip stuff, and they can actually still go compete. And I like, if you want to do something for your aging, like go compete again. Like go do something that's fun and exciting and get something in your life that motivates you. I think that's huge for like, because a lot of people, they retire and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like I always worked. I don't know. Like find something that you love to do. And this actually, I didn't even think about it. And you're actually turning me into thinking more about grip training. Damn it. Um, but
And
that
that's a good
actually makes
point
sense,
here.
especially for older people. Like that's genius. Like here's an event that you can still do. It's not going to completely tear your body up. It's not going to completely tax you, but it's hard. You can compete at it. You can have fun at it. Like, dude,
And there's enough competitors in your class to keep you
yeah,
going.
pushing and going.
Mm-hmm. Like that's
Not,
ultimately like when I kind of dropped out of grip, I would come in, train for 4 weeks. Something would pique my interest. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I'll try that. Train for about 4 weeks. There was no competition. And so it was just kind of like, this is dumb. Like it's me. And I don't know. I just kind of struggle with that ego. I call it title shopping. Like I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I totally know what you mean.
okay,
I'm a
like an
world champion in the Son of Light Power Division of the 40 to 45 Police Fire.
I'm glad you get it. And that's what it is, where it's like, I'm not going to be that guy. And I was just always more interested in the strongman component. But the cool thing that's happened in this time since I've been away is the women have gotten super competitive. So now I'm having to work, and it's like, all right, this is cool, and I'll take it.
Well, it seems like they're kind of like, it seems like they're kind of getting to like one big federation too, not like so many.
Wait, arm lifting?
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah, it's
But I
getting
mean, is
bigger.
there a bunch of different federations or is there like one main?
You've got grip sport and then arm lifting.
And there's not like at the Olympia, there was powerlifting upstairs, then you went downstairs and there was 4 other divisions lined up.
Oh.
And I thought, if you're not a power lifter and you don't really know all this and you walk around, you're like, why is these over here? And why is there another one over here? And why is there another one over here? Like, why, what is the difference?
Uh-huh. Interesting. Yeah, no, grip is pretty good like that. I
Where
see,
you can
I
have like
see what
there's one national and that's like the national. That's like it.
yeah. And grip sport has their own nationals, and then there's North American championships through grip sport, and then arm lifting has do we have nationals? I don't even know. I just did worlds. I don't
There's got to be a nationals.
I'm sure. I'm sorry.
The
Sorry.
the training sounds interesting too, because if you think about it, like, I mean, the muscles in the forearm, and it's interesting because I was listening to what you said about like where you would just kind of gradually build up. And it was like you were basically getting stronger without ever doing like max effort or killing yourself. But if you think about the muscles in the forearms and our hands are made, that muscle is designed to be moving and working all day long. So does it really need this heavy, crazy max effort stuff, or does it need more consistent, like more volume training than the
I think
max stuff?
I think more volume. And
And again, I'm sure that's different in everybody because, like in powerlifting, I know that our bodybuilding, there's people that like to go slow, really concise, and there's people that go heavy and fast, and they're both huge.
Mhm.
So I'm sure it's different, but I'm just thinking in terms of the type of muscle. And like I've always found, like with your calves are made to flex and walk all day long. Like, I think if I just tried to do max effort calf raises, it probably wouldn't do shit. But if I did a bunch of volume, like my calves would get big.
You should get a gym membership for the calf machine.
Yeah.
Right?
I did that in high school. I went with my buddy and his dad. And when I got on the calf machine and did the whole stack for like 20, and I went, okay, that's stupid. I win. I've done that. I'm out. I'm retiring from calf machines.
Calf champion of the United States. One thing in grip that I have a lot of good results with is just holds, timed holds. That is really seems to be getting me the biggest bulk of it. My grip training is just whatever I feel like. Things are getting serious if I pay somebody to write me a program, and Jed Johnson is always who does my programs. And I'll give him like 7 or 8 weeks to pull it together for me. But otherwise, I'm just kind of going
Well,
with.
that's like, I mean, honestly, there's like, even though I don't do much grip training, except when I have like clients, if it's like a specific issue, I know a lot of different ways to train your grip. I mean, there's a ton of different things you can do.
Mhm, mhm.
And even like, dude, I'll give you a bunch of 16 penny nails and a hammer. Like, it's going to work your grip. Trust me.
Well, and then it's, these events, and that's the part I struggle with is, strongman, 8 weeks on the events, right? Uh, Best case scenario before a competition, was always the program I followed was just that 8 weeks. In grip, it's like, oh, I don't even know, you know, like how much I should be focusing on the actual implements and just grip training. And so that this past year, I've kind of cycled in and out of events. And so I'm excited to have a full off season to kind of change that. A full off
Mm-hmm.
season, not like I've had a big on season in grip, but to really just come back to just training to get stronger and figuring it out
So
better.
when you're training grip, do you worry about like, do you do like a lot of like wrist curls or wrist extension or any of those movements? Do you worry too much about your wrist, or are you worried more about your hand?
Wrist strength is huge. So yeah, a lot of curls, like axle curls and stuff. Um, Thumb strength is critical. Finger strength, I think I'm going to start identifying that because that feels like my weak link is I can always feel my fingers going before anything. So I got to work on that. And apparently, like I always think about when you always talk about tight core in your back, tight, lock out your back. And I mean, there's so much that comes from your back and grip
Mm-hmm.
on down. So I'm training my back.
Well, I would think, yeah, I would think you would still have to. I mean, it's kind of like if a lot of people are like, oh, my triceps are weak because I can't lock it out. And I go, well, it's not your triceps that are weak. It's that your back is not stabilizing your shoulder. So your triceps can't show the strength that they have because your shoulder's
Mm-hmm.
loose. So it would make sense to me even if your back is stronger and your shoulder and your arm is stronger, that's going to allow your grip to actually show its true strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would think there's you can't just train your grip all the time. It seems like you'd still have to train everything else.
Well, in like squatting, okay, so you have a 15-inch loading pin with an implement. It's that explosion off the ground. It's like the
Yeah.
quicker you can get that grip, that weight off the ground, the less on your grip. So, I mean, yeah, you got to be squatting and you got to be deadlifting.
How often do you train your grip? I'm curious about the recovery on like what I mean, I have horrible recovery anyway, but like I wonder how long can you do grip training and recover quicker than say like squatting?
Um,
I would
so
think
I
so, but
no, I train grip 3 times a week, and we've kind of talked about like this year has been an anomaly, where I had to make a decision of okay, I'm strong enough right now, but I'm not proficient in these events. So I kind of slowly dropped the lifting and substituted it with the grip training. Um, so I need, like I said, the off season, I want to streamline that a little better. But the thing that always killed me was grippers. Grippers fry me. Like with strongman and training grippers at the same time was never an easy feat. The other things I feel pretty good.
Mhm.
The cold plunging was huge. That I always help my arms. So, and Matt closed the pool up, so I'm out of luck now.
If I
But you know,
recall
some
correctly, I think you actually beat me at the grippers one day. It's bullshit, but I'm sure you cheated somehow.
I cheated. It was all smoke and mirrors, Chad. So I don't know. The grippers, I still have that 2.5 certification on my to-do list. You know, I've had like 3 attempts to certify on that, and I failed them all. So
I guess you need to step the fuck up then, huh?
I know. Had like you're gonna be 52. Is that still possible? And I don't know. There's
I question that a lot myself, especially like coming back from this back injury. I'm kind of like, you know what? If I just squat 7 raw, that's pretty good for 50. Like, do I really want to? Could I? I think I'm to the point where could I and do I want to
yeah.
are two different things anymore. Like, I think about how hard I used to train, and it's like I still do push it, but I don't know if I push it as because I just like
I don't think it's I don't know. For me, I don't have that fire in me like to like getting geeked up before a lift or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
let's see what I got. Almost like half defeat already. I don't know.
But
But
I don't know if that's necessarily age. Like when people go, oh, I'm too old, I go, no, you're not.
yeah,
Like I don't feel like I'm too old to probably put up some good numbers. I mean, logically, physiologically, I probably won't do what I did at 38 ever again. But if I wanted to, could I push it and put up some big numbers? I think I could. It's just I like riding my bikes. I don't want to be 380 pounds again. Like,
and what's the payoff? Yeah,
yeah. And it's
risk
kind of I was
versus.
talking to Dave one time when I was out doing his podcast, and we were talking about records and stuff like that. And I'm like, I think if I just gave myself 6 months, I could just go eat up the Masters records. And he goes, I know you, Chad, and I know exactly what you would think as soon as you did that. And I'm like, oh yeah, what? And he's like, you'd go, but I had open records. And I go, yeah, that sounds about right. That's probably what I would think. I'd be like, yeah, so what?
That's like in arm lifting. I can't compete in the 50 and older. Like they have the annual rankings and like I said, the women have gotten good. Like depending on what it is, I'm 3 or 4. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm 52 years old and I'm back on the scene after, how long away and sporadically train. That's a good spot to be. And so as long as I'm relevant, that 50 is hard for me to branch over. Now, King Kong, that was that international competition. I was in both categories,
Yeah.
but it feels
I think is there a thing for you? Like for me, it's kind of like, you know what? I was like at the highest level of open. So like masters is kind of like that's for the people that didn't really dedicate what I had and now they're older and they have time. And so I kind of feel like an asshole, like if I did it.
mhm.
Or on the other hand, I've been thinking about going, ooh, you know what? If my back gets healed up and it feels good, I wouldn't mind doing master shot put. And like
Oh,
that one
that's
just
cool.
seems okay in my head.
Yeah,
But I wasn't like this super high level thrower ever.
right. But I would venture to say that Masters shot put probably has more competitors historically than Masters 50 and older arm lifting. You know what I mean? There's a
Could be, yeah.
longer history there. But the other part of it, I guess, is that we're setting the standard for those future 50-year-olds to come and reach these numbers.
Yeah,
Kind of we talked about in
that's
strong.
true. Yeah, that's true
So
too.
that's the other flip side of it.
Yeah,
But
you're kind of going, listen, just because you're 50 doesn't mean you shouldn't be at this level.
right, yeah. Like, look, oh, she can do that at 52. Let me see what I can do at 52.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
so
That's true
that's
too.
the
I
other
can see
aspect
that.
of it. They just started adding 50 and older world records in arm lifting. So that's
I mean, the fact is, as much as I don't really know my age. I don't pay attention to it. But, and I don't, everybody's like, oh, do you feel, so much sore. I'm this, that, or now that I'm older. And I'm like, I've been lifting weights since I was 12 and I have horrible recovery. Like I've been sore my whole life. Like this is just normal. I don't feel any different. I really don't. In fact, I kind of feel better than some of my heavy lifting days.
well, and I think just spirit of people is different who lift and as they age. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I'm around Lacey or my older friends who have weightlifting, they don't seem like they're that old. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping their spirit young, I guess, maybe. Which that was super cool. Can we talk about Stein holding? I did that, right?
Yeah. I know. I'm just preparing myself.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Who the hell even came up with this? Like, I actually saw some on Instagram and I'm like, you're going to hold that for like 5 fucking minutes? Like, who the hell
Yeah,
wants to do that?
right? But it's about the experience, okay?
I,
So,
do you remember The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And he has to carry the glass of water and he's sweating at the one point and he's like, that would be me. I'd be like, fuck this. I'm drinking it.
Sam, the teacher in me is like, thank you, and go off stage with my full mug. There's none of that. Somebody might be watching me. So always aware of that.
So how did you even get into that?
Well, let me tell you this. It was hilarious. So when I got my invite, I had to go to my principal. I'm like, hey, so I need some advice from you. And he's like, yeah, what's up? And I told him about it. And I'm like, I just need to make sure this is one of those things that's not going to get me fired as a teacher that pops up on social media or something. And he sits back in his chair all thoughtfully and he's like, beer holding, okay. Beer chugging, not okay.
That's a big line right there. Yeah.
Like he had to think about it. Like there's this difference. Chugging competition. Like I would go ask permission for that. Kind of funny. So anyway, back to Stein holding. But that's the thing about grip, Chad. Like I'm doing all these random challenges. My grip strength allows me to do that. So here's a bitter story. Rogue had the 35-pound dumbbell hold for time. That was a challenge at the beginning of the year. I walked into the gym, picked the dumbbell up. I was at somewhere around a minute, under a minute. First try. I'm like, cool, I'll submit it. Um, the first place got like a minute 3, and then 3 of us were tied with the exact same score. And then they did it by body weight. So I took 4th place. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool that I can just walk into a gym and try it. And then like a monkey grip challenge.
Was that really hard on your grip or hard on your shoulder?
I don't know. I felt fine.
I
I
mean,
don't
which gave out first, your grip or seems like your
know.
shoulder would
Two
give out
hands.
first.
2 hands. I don't know. All I know is I didn't hold it long enough. It wasn't my shoulders. I don't know,
You
Chad.
know what you should have done?
Hmm.
You should have called me up and FaceTimed me so I could yell at you.
I may need to do that tomorrow when we get this time back up. Um, but the moral of the story
If
is
you
just
drop it, we're not friends.
I'm deleting your podcast, Lana. Get out. Thanks, Chad. So laughing at the grip strength, it really affords you a lot of opportunities to do different things. Like, so monkey, have you seen monkey grips? These are really cool. They're ropes,
No.
essentially pieces of rope that you put around a deadlift bar and lift for max weight.
Oh no,
Those,
I have seen that.
yeah, those are cool. I did pretty good with those, and this challenge now we'll see how it goes. But then Stein holding was one of them, and I was like, I don't know where I saw it. And like it was last Thanksgiving, and I must have like spammed all my friends, like, "Hey, check this video out! Doesn't that look fun?" And they're like, "No." But I think what was appealing about it is, they have like two federations ish, like U.S. Stein Holding that has state championships, whatever, and then the other route with qualifiers and bars, and bars who sign up, if you win, they have preliminaries. The top people get to come back for the finals, and then the winner of the final gets an all expense paid trip to New York. They put you up in a hotel. You're in a parade along Central Park. You're competing in Oktoberfest in Central Park holding a beer. Like, that's cool. We can laugh and whatever. It was just the experience of it. Like, that's something, that's a bucket list item. That's cool. How many people can say they've done that? Now, do I want to go back next year? It killed me to train that. Like,
Did you
4
wear
minutes.
like lederhosen and an appropriate outfit?
No, but you should. You would fit in quite well. See, that should be your goal for next year, Chad. And so the thing is, apparently you don't want to win the competition. So the winner in New York gets an all expense paid trip to Munich to the Hofbrauhaus. And you get a tour and whatever. But once you win in New York, you don't get to come back. So some of the guys were like, "Oh, I'm on my third year here. I don't want to win." It's like, okay.
The hell with that. I want to go to Germany on a paid trip.
It was awesome. I took my friend Lacey, my strongman competitor. Lacey, it was so fun to, because we've been, through, she's still doing strongman, but, to finally have somebody pay for a trip for you somewhere and just relax and have a good time, that was cool.
Yeah, when we were competing, I was like, dude, you're going to pay for my trip? Hell yeah.
I'm in.
I'm in, yeah.
That's cool. A lot of fun. So I can give you some tips on that. And I just saw a strongman competition this weekend that had Stein holding. And the mugs were empty and they were dangling weight, weight connected, but they were allowed to grip. They were allowed to grip the mug like that around the body of the mug. You know what I mean? And Stein holding, you hold it by the handle.
Yeah, where you have the extra weight. So like your wrist has actually got to support it too.
Yeah, like you're holding the handle and your thumb is down. So
I mean, they've kind of always done some form of that with an axe hold or whatever weird event they would do sometimes.
So New York next year, Chad. Mark your calendar.
Uh-huh.
I've been
One city I don't really care if I ever get back to.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't like people, crowds.
Yeah, I'm like, put me in the middle of the desert. That's awesome.
Right. I think, going into it with Lacey, I'm like, okay, we both don't like
Dude,
people.
why do you think I came up to do that seminar? It was to go whistle pig hunting.
That's right. Good old whistle pig.
I don't even know what the hell a whistle pig was, but I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
I'm there. I still don't know what a whistle pig is, and I've been here 30 years.
It's a little prairie dog. And they actually whistle too. That was funny.
Good times. You want to talk about your whistle pig adventures?
Oh, the best part was your son. Oh man, he had me rolling. Had me
What'd
rolling.
you
Hey, look, we almost cut this one in half.
So, I don't know. Were you at our house when you were there then?
Yeah,
Okay, the big fancy house with the canal behind it, right?
yeah.
And my son would wake up at like 5 in the morning and go set traps out on the canal.
Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, let me show you the skins that I'm doing. And he's like, yeah, I got to show you my AR-15 I bought with. And I go, how the hell do you get an AR-15? He's like, well, I make the money trapping and selling the pelts and stuff. And I'm like, this kid's awesome, man. Like, this is to be a model for all children.
I remember opening the door one day and he had, what kind of animals live in the canal? The water animals, not a beaver, muskrat. And he's holding it. Oh, look at this one. And some things I just couldn't get excited for. That was one. Oh, I love that kid. He's got his own thing. That's
I know, I
awesome.
love it. It's awesome.
So yeah, maybe you guys could go trapping together sometime.
This is so fun. Oh, I could probably learn a ton from him. That would be great.
Oh, now for sure, right? Like the kid is nails now.
Yeah, it's funny. You have one daughter who is living in Vegas and loves Vegas, and then you have the wilderness. The what was the one with Robin Redford, or Jeremiah Johnson?
Jeremiah
Then you
Johnson.
have a
Yep.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Did you hear his bear hunting story?
No,
Are you on his Instagram?
I think I am.
You'll
He doesn't. But
actually
he's not like a social media guy though.
no, he's not. He's low profile right now. He went out hunting by himself, bear hunting up in the mountains out there. And he said he was 5 miles in and he got that bear and he had to haul it out by himself. He gutted it and did whatever you do.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
I do remember
know.
that post
And that bear on his shoulder.
because he's like, I don't know if I can even see it on my thing right there.
Yeah. He
See,
had to
that's
carry that
awesome. He's like,
himself.
screw it, I'm gonna go bear hunting. I don't care if I got anybody. Like,
Uh-huh.
I do wonder though. It's like I would have been like, I would have shot it, and I would have went, crap. I gotta get out of here now.
What am I gonna do? And it was raining the whole time, and I don't know.
I used to do
Bless
that. I do. I actually still do that out in the desert a lot. Especially when I had my dirt bike, I'd see these trails and I'm like, oh, awesome. I want to go on this trail. And I'd get to the top of this crazy steep hill. And then I'd be like, oh shit, I got to find a way back down now.
we talked about my Rokon and like whatever. And there was this big ginormous hill and everybody went up it on their ATVs and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to dump on this one. I can't. And I was thinking about Magnus and I'm like, okay, just trust the brake, trust the bike, trust the bike. And I just like gave it all the gas I could. And I'm like, "Ah," and I made it. I will never do it again. But that
Oh,
one
get the hell
moment
out of
I
here.
had
You didn't get to the
courage.
top and be like, yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, but then I looked down, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Like I had to coach myself through it. It was like childbirth, you know.
I used to, when my dad will do anything because he's super talented. And he's like him and my brother. I don't think they really feel fear. Like, I don't think it just doesn't register. I don't think, but my mom does. And so he would always get frustrated because my mom doesn't want to do all these crazy things. And so when I would go riding with her, I'd stop and I'd be like, hey mom, what about that hill? Do you think you can make it up that hill? I go, it's not that bad. I promise you. And I eventually got her to start doing some stuff, but I had to do it slowly.
Oh,
And I remember one time I'm doing donuts and burning out where we unloaded our quads and stuff. And she's like, I want to do a burnout like that. How do I do it? I'm like, we just give it gas, lean in, turn it sideways. And so she rides down and comes hauling ass back and just goes, whoo, slams the wheels, flips the thing over. And I'm like, what are you doing? That is not what I said to do. I'm like, oh, like, hey, your enthusiasm's amazing, but you got to listen a little more.
that's awesome. That's cool. She's willing to do that stuff. Like I'm still trying to prove to my kids, like, you guys got it from somewhere. Like, don't be pretending like I'm like this big nerd who doesn't do anything because yeah, whatever. So that's great. Yeah, they forget like all those years at the competitions and all the family vacations and all the things we would do. And
They don't forget it. They just need reminders every now and then.
yeah, I guess so. Like Mojo, it was one
Mojo
day after
remembered that like I tied her shoes at the game, and I'm like, oh my god, like you remember that?
she loves you. Yeah, that was so cute. That was sweet. You came. You and Joey. That was the other guy there. But yeah, can you believe she's a senior?
I know. I'm saying when I get down there, I'm going to be like, hey, if I do this Masters thing, you got to come help me. You got to come throw with me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely hit her up. She's I don't know,
I'm still. She said she wants to be on a podcast. I'm like, let's do it.
I know. I would be curious, like what she has to say, like, um, because like we always had our home gym, and then I was, part of Elite FTS that afforded us was access to experts to open the gym, and that was really at that age where the kids were getting to the age where we could start doing that kind of training with them. They had witnessed it forever, but now it was their turn. You know what I mean? Um, and so it's been really cool to see the years, their childhood years being spent around this stuff and the expectations and the work and the whatever to see what they're doing. It's like, that's cool. That is so cool. I have cool kids
I
doing
think
cool
it's
stuff.
it's interesting. I actually was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and for his kid really got into BMX racing. This is probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And so his dad, he's like, would you train him for the BMX racing? And I go, yeah. I go, I don't, I can't, I'm not an expert on BMX racing. I just love bikes. I go, but I can train him the weight training for the BMX racing. And so he had a BMX coach, a riding coach, and then I did his training. And I would every now and then I think we talked to his riding coach, and he's like, yeah, he goes, dude, what you're doing, it's working, man. He's getting way stronger and way faster. And so then when he got into high school, he kind of got off the bicycle racing, and I didn't train him much anymore, but he was doing a lot of sports. And I was talking to his dad the other day, and his dad's like, hey, I got my original 82 Panda BMX bike. Like, that could be one of your next builds. And I'm like, cool. Like, why aren't you riding it? Like, do you want to do it? And he's like, no, it's for you, dude. He goes, it's
Oh,
yours.
oh,
And he goes, my son still, he goes, he actually ended up winning like the best athlete of the high school. And they did a lifting competition. And he's like, to this day, getting through college, he still lifts weights. He still trains. And he goes, it's all from what you started showing him. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. It's cool to know that you had that impact through someone's life.
that's what Matt loves about our gym is, because he's got a lot of high school kids, and just to
Yeah.
see that transformation is tremendous.
Well, he's had quite a few kids go on to college, and I think he's had a couple that went past that, hasn't he?
Matt
Yeah.
here, oh God, he's had at least 200. I mean,
Because I know every now and then he'll post like kids that get into like Division I schools and shit like that, and I'm sure he had a major impact on that happening.
yeah, oh yeah, the transformation, like kids tend to stay with him 5, 6 years and see,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of it is just being able to hit those metrics of what, yeah, okay, you want to play in college. Well, your strength is like that of a junior high girl. Like we've got
Yeah.
some things to work on here. Sorry.
No, that's the cool part about coaching and training, and when you see people that really take to it. And even for me, 'cause I'll train anybody at anything. So like I've had some of my football players in college that end up playing in the IFL or something, and that's cool. And now I got a couple. One of them who I just trained this morning, he decided to stop the IFL thing. They're having a baby, but he's like, so I want to do powerlifting, and I'm actually like, dude, I think you do good in strongman.
That's
Like, but he
awesome.
still wants to compete and he still wants to lift. And I'm like, I like that that's become part of their life, and that's what they want to do.
Well, yeah, like just like we talked about grip and arm lifting, there has to be something after college athletics for
Yeah.
them to channel that competitive energy to. Um, so And Mojo, like I would love for you to like grease her into some Highland games. Like when she was little, I was like, oh yeah, I was doing Highland games at the time. I'm like, you're gonna start throwing and you're doing track. And like, cause for me, it was like, I wish I had done that. You're doing it. Her first day of track in middle school was horrible. She came home crying and wanted to quit and never go back because the boys were making fun of her because she couldn't run. And I remember saying to Matt, I'm like, don't break. She's got to go back. She's got to go back and really, trying to be strong. That was a very hard 24 hours as a parent. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to rescue her. And so it's been really cool, then by the time she graduated high school and signed, like those boys making fun of her, like never went on and did anything. So
Yeah, I would love to see her do powerlifting or Highland Games or both.
yeah. Oh my God, she called last week. This is hilarious. Sorry if you're listening, Mojo. She was so upset she missed I think it was a front squat. She was like the end of the world. And I'm like not the parent you call when you're crying. Um,
So somehow I can see that.
right? Like, okay, I get it. Let's fix it. Let's move on. Got stuff to do. And so Matt's become that person. And I was just like, in the big picture of things, if you're crying because you missed a front squat, I think life is good. And so, yeah, she's so competitive and she loves the strength, but for some reason, something's holding her back. Maybe it's still she's focused on college athletics.
I
I
think
don't know.
she'll like once she's done with school, I think it won't be long before she's like, yeah, I need something else.
I hope so. I hope so. That's the cool thing that I think lifting does is opens up those doors, regardless of what your high school sports were. You don't know where you're going to end up, but you're
Yeah.
for sure competitive. So.
I mean, I did a post or one of my earlier podcasts or one that I think I still have to put. I don't know, but I was talking about kind of like how we go through life and these things seem important, but we don't really know where we're ever going to end up. And it's about keep looking. I mean, all I ever wanted to be was a professional athlete. Well, I wasn't a very good athlete. I had to work really hard at everything. And, which I think frustrated the hell out of my dad because everything was so easy for him. And, so then it's like I get compartment syndrome. So I'm like, okay, man, football's killing me. It's killing my legs. And I decided I wasn't a team person. I'm like, okay, cool. So I can still throw though. So then I focused on throwing. And then by the time I got in college, the compartment syndrome was so bad, we find surgery. And I have surgery and it doesn't fix it. And it's like, shit, okay, so this, I could potentially lose my legs if I keep doing this. Okay, I got to stop this. And then I just fuck around and lift for a little while. And then all of a sudden, here comes powerlifting. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And it doesn't bother my compartment syndrome. And like,
Oh,
so I mean, who knows? Just like things happen. Sometimes what we want really bad isn't necessarily what we're made to do. So just don't quit. Just keep trying.
exactly. I agree. I agree. So yeah, what else
That's
you got?
interesting. So
What?
you guys are in Boise. What's
Mhm.
God damn it, the name of your gym? Isn't the gym actually in it's not actually in Boise, is it?
The Meridian
Meridian, that's
Competitive
it. Yeah.
Edge Athletic Performance Center. So yeah, we're
Which I recommend. You guys have been in business a long time now.
going on 13 years.
Yeah. And I
Crazy,
know
huh?
he's had a ton of college athletes go through there. You've had a few power lifters come through there that ended up doing really well too.
Yeah, yep. Strongman, power lifters. He's had Olympic skiers, pro fighters, all kinds of stuff. I can't even keep track of it. The amount of kids gone D1 has got to be over 150. I mean, it's just he's good at what he does and he gets results. The interesting thing when we open this facility in a town like Boise is it's small enough that everybody at the time was still connected. Um, and so we have like these speed schools,
Yeah.
and they got into the schools somehow. And so the kids would train, do their practice, and then they're obligated to pay for training with this speed program, basically. after practice, and you're not allowed to train anywhere else. That was very weird. It's almost coming back in a wave again. Like if you're on our football team, everybody is training with this place. And I understand it from a team perspective, but when you're telling parents how to spend money,
Yeah.
you better tread lightly. And I guess I'm going to ask who's gaining financially from this arrangement, you
Hmm.
know? So it's been a long battle as far as that has gone. But the beauty of it is, and a couple more places have popped up, the more that those kind of places pop up, further differentiate what Matt does with them. Like he stands out even more. Okay, you
Yeah.
tried that place, you tried that place, you tried that place. Watch what we're about to do. So that's cool. Um, but as the valley grows, I hope that there's less of that. I mean, they didn't want him lift 12 years ago. Oh, we don't lift our athletes heavy. Really? Like, are you for real? Because that's what you should be
It's
doing.
hard to believe that that is still out there
Uh-huh.
with all the evidence, with all the studies, with it's just crazy. But there probably is a bunch of those speed schools, and it's like anytime you look at a study, the first thing you should do is go, who paid for the study?
Yeah.
Like, does a speed school want you lifting weights? No, they want to go, you need to speed school. You don't need to lift weights. You need to do all this sprinting stuff.
Make you fat.
Yeah. It's like,
So
to make you fast, get stronger. You get faster. Guarantee it.
crazy, crazy. So yeah. And Matt does a really good job, I think, of breaking down, the pyramid of athleticism and
Hmm.
communicating that to parents and really coupling that with if this is your goal, this is where your numbers need to be. Not that,
Yeah.
it's going to make you a better player, but it's going to round out your package. It is going to make you a better player. But
He's
so
always been very, really good where I'm like the blue collar guy.
mhm.
I try to make things as absolutely as brain dead dumb as possible. This is what works. This is how it works. It's that simple. Matt's really good at like he can go in depth, even though it is simple. He can explain it like really in depth, and he can record it, and he can break down all the statistics and everything. And
Mhm. He's really,
so for like the coach that's a really hard head, he can go, listen, here it is. Da, 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 da. Like, how can you argue with these facts?
right. Like he's really, when we look at like fitness people and coaches and social media and influencers and all of that, that guy's got crazy knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
is super smart and super good at what he does. Um, and I'm always like, you should do more with this, or, have you thought about, more internet stuff? And he's like, it's just not interesting. He doesn't want to be the guy trying to sell what he's doing.
It's
Even
it,
like our gym, he doesn't advertise. He doesn't have to because his
yeah,
results advertise for him. And so he really enjoys kind of being down low and
yeah.
out of
Well, I
people's way.
I think there's a place for that. Like, I like that. Um, but even with the social media thing is so funny because there's quite a few guys that I think are like super smart that I would recommend. I would recommend anybody goes to your gym. I mean, if I had somebody who was the online, I use this one a lot. If I had somebody who called me from Boise who said, "Hey, could you online train me?" I would probably like, you know what? Like, yeah, I can online train you, but that really limits a lot. So, like, why don't you go talk to Matt over here? Like, that would probably be the better route, I think. But there's a lot of people on social media that I know that have hardly any followings. They're not super popular, but to me, they're the best coaches out there.
Yeah,
And it's like, and then there's so many popular people that I go, what the fuck is this person talking about?
right.
Like, these people don't know shit.
hmm
So
yeah,
it's almost like you're selling your soul a little bit to get to a certain level.
yeah. And he's super happy with what he does and loves the relationships with his clients. I mean, it's those personal relationships, I think, that really make a difference. And he will he's a softie, and like I can think of through the years, like, because kids stay with him long term, like a parent will call and be like, we just have to cut back, we can't afford it, I got laid off or whatever. And Matt's like, keep sending your kid, like
Yeah.
it's good for kids, keep them coming.
Yeah,
So I really appreciate that about him.
I've done that. One of the hardest things about this move to Pahrump, when I can get everything focused and make this happen, is leaving the clients that I do have,
Well,
because they become like family,
yeah, they
you
do.
know. And right now, like with my one person that got injured, I'm like, I'm not leaving till you're like, you will be better before I leave. I just won't do it.
Oh, that's sweet.
So yeah, and especially with the young kids, because even my parents that had young kids, they're like, he learns a lot here. And I go, well, it's not just training to me. Like, I'm like, hey, what's going on? How's school going? You know, you doing good in school? You having problems with anybody? Like, I feel like a stepfather or something. Like, I want him to learn not only training, but I want him to learn to be men too, you know?
Exactly. Well, and that self-esteem growth is huge, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a sense of belonging and being comfortable with who they are and having good male role models. Yeah, because those are becoming harder and harder to come by,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so
I
yeah.
actually have one kid. This is the one kid, he's 16 now, and he stopped training. I don't remember why it was he stopped training, but I still text him. Well, I train his mom, but I still text him every now and then. I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Still doing good in school? Like, getting things done.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Mojo just FaceTimed. I should have answered it.
Tell her to say, don't interrupt. I'm doing a podcast.
She's cooking. It's Thrower's Giving today, so I'm getting all these. How do I cook the ham? Oh my God, I forgot the aluminum foil. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about those days calling my mom, trying to learn how to cook. That's so cute.
That's
She's
funny.
sweet. Yeah, yeah.
All
So,
right. I think we've been going at it for about an hour and a half.
wow, right on.
I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
I'm gonna I pretty much I like talking to everybody I've ever had on here. So I ask everybody if they want to be back on at any time. It'll be interesting to see like if you go further into this grip stuff now
Yeah, well,
and how
you
you
know, the
do.
other part I didn't tell you, I guess, arm lifting also has a pro class too. So
Oh,
like
do
at the
they?
Arnold, yeah, on the main stage, it was the pro class. So officially how you transition from one to the other, I'm not totally sure. Um,
That was gonna be my question.
uh, I don't know. Win, I guess. Be good at what you do. So I really feel like we're gonna get you grip training. Chad, do you have an axle?
No.
Really?
Of all the bars that I have, and I have a bunch of bars, I don't have an axle now.
Well, I think you can make one. You weld, right?
No, that's one skill I do want to learn. But I know welders.
Okay, so we'll start with just double overhand deadlift, just with a regular bar. I'm curious what that is, like where you're at on that.
It's actually not very good at the moment.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get you grip trained.
Because it was like when my back injury, like it took me a long time to figure out what it was and then to get it fixed. So there was a long time where I wasn't doing hardly any deadlifting at all. And I'm just starting to push my deadlift now. And it's like right now my goal is to like do 500 for a set of 5. And like even at like 450, I'll pull sets of 5. And I'm like, Jesus, my grip sucks. Like I got to start working my grip again.
Well, my best double overhand on a deadlift bar from the ground is 400. So we need to calculate yours. Just curious in relation. Work on it. You need
I need to anyway. Like, I mean, I need to get my grip back.
Oh, December 14th, I'm promoting Napalm Nightmare Championships here at the gym. Fly down. 4 events.
Napalm Nightmare Championships. What are we
It's
huffing
really,
napalm? What is that? That doesn't even tell you what it's about.
well, Napalm Nightmare is a grip implement. Jed Johnson, they call me Napalm. That's Jed's thing. So the equipment is named after him. And so he's got one-handed and two-handed. And so it's a handle, and it took me this long to figure out what it actually was, talking about like not being smart enough. So it's a handle, a rotating handle, and then you have 3x4 blocks that can go onto it. They're interchangeable. And then you got double fat handles, skinnier pinch blocks.
So basically, you can change it and make it multiple things.
Yes, the two-handed or the one-handed. So, yeah, you should fly down. Just saying. Catch a morning flight.
Am I going to get to kill some whistle pigs?
I don't think the boy will be here. Matt will take you out.
Matt went last time too.
You can take my Rokon,
And you also have them owls. You have them owls that live in the holes in the ground.
What?
Yes. They're cool as shit. How, do you not go outside?
I don't go to the desert. It's hot out there.
Yeah, you have the owls that live in the ground. It's awesome. They'll sit out and then they just dive right down into the hole.
Is this an Idaho?
Crazy. That's the first place I seen them.
Wow. I'll have to inquire about that. I didn't know that. Thanks for the lesson.
It's cool, man. I actually liked it up there. I thought the whole town, back then, I thought that the city was nice. And then it's really not that different from here. It's high desert.
Yep. Yeah. We're colder, I think.
Yeah, colder and more snow.
We're cleaner than Reno for sure. Like it feels
I wish that I could disagree with that, but I can't.
Like I judge a city if they actually wash their parking lots. You know, in Idaho, we're still washing sidewalks and parking lots. So like walk around Vegas and then go into your hotel room and you're tracking stuff on the floor because everything's so filthy.
That's funny because in the Midwest, like you would people would hose off their driveways and stuff. Like that was common to do.
California is disgusting. Like, you know, it's all sticky and you know, part of me is like, okay, maybe it's a water issue, but it's like, don't they have trucks to drive and clean concrete?
Yeah.
Sorry.
These are the conversations when we're not on video, they go even worse.
Sorry.
But they're interesting.
Great. So you should come to Boise or get to Pahrump and start throwing with my girl. She graduates in May, so then she'll be free. I'm not sure she's the girl though, because like in high school she was shot in discus, and then summer season was hammer, and I was always like, you know, you better get your shot and disc numbers up, like if you're wanting to go to college. And she's like, I'm just going to throw hammer. I'm not throwing shot and disc. I'm like, nobody gets signed just for hammer. She got signed just for hammer.
Did she? I thought she was doing shot and disc. She's just doing hammer?
Just hammer and weight, yeah.
Dude, hammer's complicated.
Yeah. It's cool. Yeah. It's been
I started throwing when I got in college, I started throwing it because we had Kim Johansson. He was a Swedish thrower. And he was teaching me, and it was like, dude, this is there's a lot to this.
And the timing and all of that. But that translates really well to Highland Games. You know, she's got.
Dude, if you can throw a regular hammer, throwing Highland Game hammer is a piece of cake.
Yep. So you should definitely work with her, get her moving in that direction. She did do grip with me when she was a teenager.
Yeah.
But
I imagine her hands have to be fairly strong. I mean, you're still holding that little handle like this.
She's got claws on her for sure.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and hit my little outro. I appreciate you being on. You're definitely welcome anytime.
Thanks,
like, hey,
Chad.
I want to get on a podcast and talk about shit.
It'll be your biggest podcast to date, too.
All right.
It's a good time. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.